Hello, everyone. What is up? This is Gary A. Swaby, and you're now listening to the Powercast. And today we will be recapping Power Book 3, Raising Kanan, Season 4, Episode 3. And the title of the episode is Bygones. And I'm joined today by Mr. Richard Bailey Jr. How are you doing today, Richard?
Doing good, Gary. What's up, listeners and viewers?
Indeed, indeed. I noticed you're in a new location. Do you want to let the people know where you're at right now, or
Yeah.
I know you might not want to give the people the low, but it's up to you.
Oh no.
Go ahead.
Let me give some details because I know there will be a comment in there saying, "I see you, Richard, and you don't have the mansion anymore." You are correct, sir. I'm working my way back up to that mansion. So maybe I will have it by the time we get to the finale of the episode. You never know. It's hard out here. But no, I'm currently at the Game Developers Conference in San Francisco. At the time that we are recording this. So obviously, we had to try to coordinate when was going to be the best time for us to record because I've been here the entire week. I will be back in my usual spot next week, but for the purposes of wanting to get the show done, we had to move forward with the recording, which we like to always have these timely discussions with all of you in mind. So this is what the exception that we made for this particular episode. But yes, looking forward to talking about episode 3. And we are going to be joined by Dana at some point. I believe that she's actually in an interview right now. But yeah, happy to be here and looking forward to talking about Raising Canaan.
Absolutely, yeah. I do miss like going out to press missions with you in the US and stuff. Like, I used to do it more often. For the people who don't know, I used to fly out and go to some of these press shows and stuff like that. But yeah, I haven't done it in quite a few years now. Just because of life situations. But yeah, I do miss it. I miss seeing Richard and Dana in person and stuff. I hope there'll be more opportunities for us to all meet up again in the future. But that is very cool that you're out there at GDC and everything like that. And I hope you're having a good time over there. And also, as Richard just said, Dana, she's actually on another press mission. She's in an interview right now. She's doing an interview press call, and stuff like that. So she couldn't make it at this time, but she might hop in. She might hop in while we're recording the show. So let's hope that we do hear from her today, because her opinions are valued. Her perspective is very much valued. So let's hope that we do get a Dana appearance soon. But yeah, bygones. So let's hop right into our takeaways for this episode of Power, and it is Richard's turn to go first. So Richard, whenever you're ready, hit us with those takeaways.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I'll start out by saying I thought this was another great episode of Raising Canaan. A lot of things happening within the storyline related to the family, certain characters having their own individual struggles and really trying to figure out what their next move is. So I do have 3 takeaways I'm going to get into here. Obviously, there's a lot more to talk about, but I will save that because we're going to have our discussion as well. So there'll be a lot more to say, but I'm going to focus on the 3 takeaways for right now. So the first takeaway I have from this episode is we saw more of the vicious side of Unique in this episode. And I have quite a bit of friends, some of them that started listening to this show. Shout outs to you if you are watching the show. Um, a lot of people that I've been talking to, they still really like Unique as a character. And I have been continuing to ask them, will you still like this character after he does all of these bad things? So I look forward to seeing what they have to say after they see this episode. But right at the start of this episode, he continues his streak by going after the Chinese restaurant owners. I believe it was Richard and Sunny. Now, obviously, my name is Richard, so I wasn't a fan of, you using my name as one of these characters, but hopefully I have a better, my story turns out better than that character. But yes, Unique, robbed them, took the money, took some of the product, and killed them after that. So that was a very unfortunate situation. And then you find out later that they did have a daughter that became an orphan. That was also tied to what Marvin experienced in this episode because we know that he ended up going back to visit Gerald's daughter. I believe her name was Amber, because because the same thing happened with her. Her father, went out, took himself out, took his daughter out. So yes, so I like how they made that connection. But staying on Unique, they had a scene where he went to Kanan's apartment. He bumped into Crystal, or he was actually coming out of the apartment when he bumped into Crystal, and that was a very tense interaction between those two characters. Just the way he was staring at her, very demeaning. Um, and of course, he did meet up with Early Tyler in this episode. He gave Early Tyler the money that he stole from Richard and Sonny. And Marvin did approach Early Tyler in this episode as well to basically talk to him and try to figure out if he knew anything about what is happening. Obviously, he didn't tell Marvin any information. So we'll see where that goes. And lastly, for Unique, at the end of this episode, because he now I will also mention he is still checking on Panessa and his kid. He hasn't approached him yet. He did leave them money. So obviously, the only question I have is I want to know, when are people going to start figuring out Unique is still around? Hopefully, I'm pretty sure Gary's probably going to ask a similar question, because I thought Raquel would have figured this out at some point, but they're going to find out soon. And at the end of this episode, Unique does break into Kanan's place, and you see him holding up Kanan's boy OC. So very interesting episode, to say the least. In terms of what they're doing with Unique as a character, he continues to be a menace, and I do want to see where they're going with this. But I do want to give a shout out to I believe it's Jeremiah, because Jeremiah predicted in the comments last week that Unique was probably going to take out these two people at the Chinese restaurant. He was 100% on the money with that. So shout out to him. So we'll see where they go from there. My second takeaway, I'm going to focus in on Jukebox in this episode. We know, obviously, she had made the decision to leave the army previously, and they kept telling us that, well, they were eventually going to approach her about why she did that, because the army obviously was not happy that that's what she decided to do. So I like how when they approached her in this particular episode, and they had the whole back and forth dialogue where the officer tried to guilt her and saying, why are you giving up on your country? You're letting us down. And she had that comment where she said, well, my country has let me and mine's down many times. I thought that was, once again, like I said last week, excellent writing and excellent dialogue, because yes, we know about the history of how our people have been treated in this country. I mean, this, so it ain't really worth really diving deep into. But I'm glad they put that in there, and I'm glad they put that in there to talk about. And of course, they did grant her entry level separation, because that's what she wanted. You know, she made the comment to the guy, "Yes, I am gay," and then that was it. So I'm glad that they addressed that. Um, and then, of course, this entire episode, then she's then still trying to figure out what she wants to do next. They did have a scene where she threw out the army outfit, and she also threw out the butter shirt. I know some people were asking in the past, could she go back to music? She said in this episode multiple times, I'm done with that part of my life. It's brought me nothing but bad news, so I'm going to focus on something else. So, and then she did hang out with her old crew, who she used to steal with back in season one. They're trying to get her to go back to that as well. And again, she said no, she isn't going backwards to any of that. So for right now, she's just trying to figure things out. She does go to community college to try to basically figure out some stuff there. And she does also meet another young woman. I believe her name was Mara, outside one of the gay clubs. So she's just basically enjoying her life, embracing who she is, which is great. You should embrace who you are, no matter what anybody says. So I applaud that. But glad to see the character is doing well. I do obviously want to see where things go with this character, because we already know her story does not end well. So I'm curious to see where things start to take a dangerous turn, and we're probably going to find that out very soon. And lastly, my last takeaways for this episode, I want to talk briefly about Kanan. Obviously, a lot was going on with Kanan in this episode. He's still been helping out his grandmother Joyce, and you can see. And I do want to make a comment about this. Obviously, we already know about cancer. We already know how vicious that particular condition is. I just think it's very sad to see. You see how Joyce looked in the first episode to this episode. Yes, you can see the impacts of this of what cancer is doing to her health wise on the show. And I obviously I know some people who have had all types of illnesses, but cancer in particular. You see how people look over time as they change. That is very depressing. It's very hard to see that. So they they captured it in this show the way they needed to capture it to keep it real for everybody. And Kanan had a very heart-to-heart conversation with her, convincing her that she needs to tell everybody, you know. And I like how Joyce made the comment to her, because made the comment back to Kanan when he said, "Oh, I don't have a good relationship with my mom," and she's saying, you still need to have a relationship with your mom. That's important. So that's why it was fitting for her to decide to, at the end of this episode, have that dinner. And of course, that really was, there's a lot going on with that dinner. I'm sure we'll get into that later. But to stay on Kanan here for a second, um, in this episode, Crystal did pursue him and try to convince him, you need to find a new apartment, because it's not a good idea to be working in the same apartment with all of the activity happening of how dangerous the neighborhood is. And she made a very good point. Kanan obviously has enough money to find an apartment. But once again, as they were looking for apartments, there was a monologue between him and one of these property owners where he was talking about, oh, yeah, I have this property on sale. Then when he saw Kanan and Crystal, he saw the color of their skin. He was like, no, this apartment is already taken. And once again, very great conversation between Kanan calling out the racism and saying, hey, you just because you looked at us, this is why you don't want to give us this apartment. It says, all right, we'll be on our way. So again, I'm glad they put this stuff in the show to highlight how racist people can be. A lot of the same behavior still happens in this world today. So they need to really highlight this stuff. I think it's important for the context. So shout out to them on that. But yes, eventually Kanan and Crystal do get an apartment. And of course, at the same time, he's going through all of this. Raquel does get the notice and find out Kanan has been skipping school. When they have their conversation about it, he said, "Oh, I ain't going back to school. I had no plan to go back to school." And obviously, Raquel wanted him to do something different. But again, this is Kanan's life. He wants to do whatever he wants to do. So it was surprising to hear that she thought he would change his ways completely. That ain't happening. We know how Kanan is. We know what happens to Kanan, so it is what it is. But by the end of the episode, when they had their family dinner, Raquel is the one that's very angry that her mom brought all them together to tell them this news, and the fact that Kanan knew the entire time because he has been the only one talking with Joyce. So looking forward to seeing where things go from here. But overall, I would say this is a very good episode of Power. I can critique and say that the stuff that's happening with Unique, it is interesting. It is moving at a bit of a slow pace, but it is accelerating with every episode. So I look forward to seeing what happens next week, because once again, like I said at the start of this, I find it surprising that Raquel hasn't figured this out yet. They did mention Andre in this episode. We know what happened to Andre last week. I just thought that there would have been more of an urgency to find out what happened to Andre. And they know for sure what happened to Andre. But they were so worried about Richard and Sonny in this episode because they're like, they had to find out who could have been behind this. And it feels like Andre was a bit of an afterthought. So I do want to see what happens. Obviously, at this point, Raquel doesn't know what happens to Andre because she did call him and he didn't answer. But I do want to see what they get what happens in the next episode, because again, Raquel has to find out. Her and Marvin have to find out that Unique is behind this, because again, we'll be at episode 4. This is only a 10-episode season, so I would think by the mid-season finale they have to know, and at that point, it's going to be trying to figure out what their move is going to be against Unique. But overall, great episode. Looking forward to hearing what Gary and Dana have to say about it.
Oh yeah, great takeaways there, great observations. And yeah, I do agree with your take on Unique. It is kind of playing out very slowly at this point, and my concern is like I don't want it to be too slow the first half, and then like the second half feels rushed with like the actual battle of Raquel and Unique and all that. Like, so I hope that we maybe next week it starts to kind of you know it kind of starts to take off with that storyline. But yeah, great thoughts, great takeaways, uh, as usual. You know, always solid with your takeaways. So yeah, let's go to Dana now. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. But okay, yeah. So let's get to my takeaways now. Um, so one thing about Kanan is that he's really starting to become his own man. I feel like in this season, we've seen kind of sprinkles of him becoming independent. I mean, it really started in the last season, where he had when he actually got his apartment and everything, and then he started taking all the local boys under his wing, and he put that new system in place where they're going to deliver the drugs and all that stuff. But this season I feel like it's more definitive that he's his own man, and he's really starting to become that Canaan that we know. And the reason it's more apparent for me is just because Raquel really has no hold over him anymore. He comes and goes as he pleases. He's got his own ride. Like he's really making his own decisions and carving his own lane, really. So like what the scene that kind of made it hit home is when Raquel, she obviously finds out that he's been absent from school, he hasn't been showing up and everything like that. And when she confronts him outside of the house, Grandma Joyce's house, he's very nonchalant in his response. He's basically like, after what you did to me, like, why would you think that, I would go to college after that, like a normal person, like after everything you did to me? And besides, like, you also didn't go to college, you dropped out, so like he really hit her with some hard facts, like, and it was like, wow, like he just did it so boldly, so, calmly. And Raquel didn't really have a response, like, and Kanan was like, "You must be crazy," or like, "Sometimes I think you're crazy," basically. And Raquel was like, "Yeah, you know what? I am crazy." Like that moment, like it was such a small moment, but it just reinforced the fact that Kanan is just, he's his own man now. He's independent, and then on top of that, you have him getting his apartment. Now, obviously it was Crystal who prompted him to do that after seeing Unique, but it just represents like another, independent move. Like he's really like there's nothing Raquel really can do to control him. And then and I'm gonna bring this up again, but even like the part where at the dinner table and Grandma Joyce is she's told them that she's got cancer and everything, and they're all looking at each other, and Kanan's like, he's given this look, and his behavior just shows that, yeah, I knew this already, like. And Raquel reads that on him, and she's like, oh, so you knew? And it's like, because she probably expected him to tell her or something, and it's like at that moment she also realizes, oh, okay, so he's not, he's not acting like my son. Like he's really his own man at this moment. But obviously there's more to that scene than just that, and I am gonna get to that in a moment. But yeah, like just I'm enjoying seeing it. One thing I do like about this season so far is there's just a lot of like little subtle things that are really like telling you about the characters that I'm really picking up on and enjoying it. Um, Even if the story's moving slow, like the character work is exceptional still. and they've always done a great job of that in raising Kanan. So props to them. Second takeaway. So Marvin, my favorite character, but he's moving a little sloppy in some regards. So he shouldn't have lied to Raquel. I feel like, so the scene I'm talking about is where they're at the table, and they're talking about what happened with the Chinese spot, them getting killed, and the stash getting hit and all that stuff. They're talking about that, and they're putting a plan in place. Marvin's telling her that he saw the nephew stealing at the place before and all that stuff. But then when Marvin's leaving to go sort things out and everything like that, Raquel brings up the fact that the feds are watching Stefano and they saw him there. And, Marvin, instead of fessing up, he's like, it's the feds. What do you expect? Like they're of course they're lying to you. They want to, you know, they want to create some inner turmoil in the family. So they're going to say whatever. He basically lies. Like it's at that point, I feel like he should have fessed up, because I feel like now it's going to be a very dangerous lie, that's going to come back to haunt him. And I feel like, if he would have just fessed up to Raquel at this point, before it gets further, before it snowballs, if he would have just fessed up to Raquel at this point, it might have softened the blow a little bit, because I do feel like Raquel would have been mad at him if he was like, seeing Stefano and doing work with Stefano behind her back and not telling her. She definitely would have been mad at him. But I feel like it's at a place right now where she could forgive him and adapt to the situation. But the fact that he lied now, obviously, she doesn't know about Andre yet. All she knows is that the stash got hit and everything. She doesn't know, Unique is alive yet. But it's just it's not gonna look good. Once she does find out all this stuff, it's not gonna look good. And then Marvin lying about that could blindside her, because let's say the feds do come back and like start investigating, and now like the investigation is back on because Andre's not there to mitigate for her. She's going to be exposed on that. And then another thing is, Unique is on the prowl right now. Unique knows about Stefano. He knows about Stefano's existence. So who's to say Unique won't start watching Stefano or watching Marvin? And maybe one day Marvin goes to Stefano, and there's a lot that could go on there. Because he's clearly trying to get at the family, the Thomas family right now. He was following Lou. He didn't do anything in that moment, so maybe he does want to keep it on focused on just Raquel and Kanan, because they were directly involved in the whole brother situation, Ronnie, and everything. But still, if things do escalate with this war, with this little unseen war, because they don't know that it's Unique right now, if things do escalate, he might, that's an option he could take, of manipulating Marvin, or taking out Marvin, or following him and doing something with that situation. So it really does leave them exposed, the fact that he's lying. And I do feel like at the end of the season, I think something's going to happen to Marvin. um, and I do not want it to be death, because he is my favorite character and everything. um, I don't want him to die. But if it's not death, then I do think he is going to take the rap. He's going to take the fall legally for the family, I feel like. And, it's his own fault for, doing things. Now, what I do like is the compassion that he's showing now. Like, you really see that the therapy has kind of helped him, emotionally, because even though he does these cold things, because he has to survive in the streets, he has to kind of maintain that tough exterior and everything. He does have a heart too, because he cared about the fact that you know, the daughter, I think it was the daughter of you know, the Chinese couple, you know, is now an orphan because their parents got killed and everything. And then that led him to go and see I forgot his name already, but the snitch dude, you know. Yeah, go
You
ahead.
talking about Amber?
Amber,
Amber.
is that
It,
the child's name?
that's what. Yeah, yeah. The
Yeah.
daughter that survived. Yep.
Yeah, and what's her dad's name again? I forgot.
I think it was Gerald, right? Was it Gerald
Gerald, yeah,
or
that's it. Gerald,
yeah?
yeah. Yeah, that's the one. So yeah, he went to see Gerald's daughter, you know, after hearing about the other daughter, he went to go see, you know, check on Gerald's daughter, Amber. And that was, you know, a very touching scene. It shows that, you know, the therapy really did help him, and he does have a heart, he has a conscience, and that's good to see. There's a lot of duality there with Marvin, and the family as a whole. That's one thing I wanted to say as well. So let me get to my third point. But basically, my second takeaway is I do feel like Marvin is in a very vulnerable spot, and he might not make it out the season. So that's my second takeaway. Um, but yeah, third takeaway. So the dinner scene at grandma Joyce's house was very deep. And yeah, I love the family dynamics in this season. I feel like, you know, all of them are showing a lot of layers this season. Like the character work is phenomenal so far. You know, you have the Marvin thing, which I just talked about, and then Lou. You know, you can see how he's really grown. Like his character has really grown. Um, you know, because obviously he had that speech, you know, at the meeting and everything, and Raquel was there to support him, and you could see he's done a lot of like internal reflection and self healing and all that good stuff. But also on top of that, one thing I noticed as well is how he conducted himself in the meeting with B Rilla and the record executive dude. Um, so yeah, like I feel like he handled that very well, like a leader. Like he took up a real leadership position in that. Now, if I'm thinking back to Lou in season two, and you know parts of season three, like he was very erratic. He was very like aggressive in some areas and stuff. Like you know when he was trying to run the old label and stuff like that and manage the artists, he was very like reckless. You know, I mean, he killed you know, Camacho, the Camacho dude, he killed him. You know, so like he was just very reckless. And now the way he's interacting with B Rilla, it's like he's really showing strong leadership qualities now. So it's like I like seeing that growth in the characters. It's like they're really settled in their like the actors are really settled in their characters now and everything. It's like they're kind of, you know, more complete as characters. We've seen them kind of grow a little bit, and I really like that in this. Now, when it comes to Raquel, well, before that, I should say that also Jukebox is kind of going through a growth um, stage right now, also because we see, you know, as you mentioned, she threw out her bar jersey, she threw out, you know, the military clothes. She finally closed the door on the whole military chapter and everything, and now she's really looking for something fresh. She's looking for like the next kind of stage of her life, which I think probably isn't going to go so well, but but yeah, she's in that growth process at the moment. When it comes to Raquel, I feel like she's hitting a growth spot too. Like now she's probably been through a lot already. She's probably been through a lot of growth stages already, but I feel like she's really hitting a growth position now after seeing how she reacted to this dinner. Because like you know we see that when Joyce announces that she has cancer and everything like that, it really starts to bother um, Raquel, and she lashes out at everyone. Like her natural response is to lash out at everybody else and act like they're the problem. But really, I think there's something internal going on there. Like, and we saw in the first season where she was very like composed with the abortion part, where she was talking to the doctor, and the doctor was kind of getting her to open up, and the doctor was basically trying to tell her like, you can, it's okay to be a little sad, it's okay to open up and feel a certain way about this. But Raquel was like, people like me, we don't get to show emotion, don't get to be depressed. We just have to move on with life and handle things as they come. But the whole Joyce situation, that was something I feel like she can't really handle, because even when she was walking out, it looked like she was kind of already crying. Like, it looked like she might have shed a little tears or something, because you see her hand go to her face when she walks out. So you can see that there's a lot of pain there, a lot of internal pain. And we know that they've been a very troublesome family, a very dysfunctional family in the past. There's been some things that happened with their father. They haven't had like the greatest relationship with the mother, you know. So there's been a lot of pain. There's always a lot of like sibling stuff going on as well, like sibling aggressions and stuff like that. So yeah, like there's a lot of pain there, and I think she's not ready to accept losing her mother, even though they might not have the greatest relationship. It's something that's deeply scarring her, and I think we're gonna tap into that more as the episodes go on. I think we're gonna learn more about their connection, Joyce and Raquel. And I think this is gonna really hit Raquel deep, especially because at the same time, Kanan is also kind of like, separating himself from her. Um, and then, you have the whole unique thing and the fact that she had an abortion. And I can't remember the exact quote, but, Kanan, 50 Cent had a spot in the narration where he was like, everybody's somebody's child, basically. So I think that is going to something. It's going to be something that directly correlates with the fact that she did have that abortion. She got rid of another child. Like, somebody didn't get to be a child because she aborted that baby. And that's a very sensitive topic, even in real life. Like, that's not a it's a very weighty decision. To have an abortion like that. So yeah, heavy stuff. I do feel like we're going to see a very tested Raquel in this season, and I can't wait because Bettina Miller does an excellent job portraying Raquel, and I'm loving all of the family character work so far, and I can't wait to see where it leads to next. Because yeah, this was excellent. This episode was excellent for character building, in my opinion. So yeah, that's my third takeaway. But yeah, great episode overall. Like, it was slow story wise. It was a very slow movement. We're just kind of. It feels like we're still kind of building up to something major happening. But yeah, good episode in terms of acting and character development and stuff like that. That's what I'll say. Um, so yeah, let's move on to our takeaway. Sorry, not takeaways. Our discussions now, because I do have some things that I want to bring up. And of course, if Dana gets in, we'll get her thoughts on the episode also. But until then, we'll continue with our discussions. So, Richard, you did mention that Kanan, he got a new apartment and everything. He did run into some trouble, some kind of racism and prejudice when he was trying to get that apartment, because the dude saw what they looked like, this young black couple, and he was like, man, I don't want them living here. I don't want them to have this apartment. And yeah, he basically said, oh, sorry, I already gave it to someone else. And Kanan picked up on that, and he wasn't very happy. But they did find somewhere else. They did manage to get another location. So Kanan, he's moved out of his apartment now. But we know what happened at the end. where Unique showed up to his building, and it looks like he used OC basically as a means to get inside of Kanan's apartment. So I want to ask you, Richard, how soon do you think it will be before you know Kanan finds out Unique is kind of operating in the shadows in his apartment? And what is Unique's motives? Like, what are Unique's motives? Because the thing is with me, like the way that Kanan kind of moved out and Unique kind of busted into his apartment in the same episode, it leads me to believe that you know this might mean that Unique goes undetected for a little while. Like maybe he has an agenda here. Maybe he wants to kind of manipulate, the money and the drugs somehow or something like that. Maybe he wants to take something, or I don't know. He might have some kind of agenda there with breaking into Kanan's apartment. And of course, Kanan's not actually there because now he has somewhere else to be. So, but what do you think? How do you see this playing out, and what do you think Unique's motives actually are in this situation?
All right, well, that's an interesting question. Well, personally, uh, I don't think that Kanan. I mean, the whole reason why Kanan moved out is because Crystal didn't want him to work at the same place that he was living at. So, I still think that he is going to go back to that other place in the next episode, and then he's going to see that obviously somebody broke in and want to investigate that further. So while he's not living there per se, he's still going to be working in that space. So, in my opinion, I think the next episode there has to be some type of revelation coming where they find out that Unique is operating in the shadows or he is behind this. Because once again, one thing I thought was very important about this episode is that you had the scene where early Tyler had his conversation with Unique and he said, "Hey, Unique, you need to be careful. Try to warn Unique, and Unique did not like that." So what I'm saying is that I think that is a precursor to the fact that eventually Unique, it is going to be found out that Unique is out there doing this stuff. And as a viewer, I would think, yeah, maybe the next episode or the mid-season finale, but no way it goes past episode 5 where Raquel and everybody else doesn't find out that Unique is out there. Because, like I mentioned earlier, we'll be at the mid-season finale. I think by then, that probably needs to be established so that now they can try to figure out how they're going to plan. But I do expect Unique to keep hitting them multiple ways. You know that Gary, your favorite character, Quan, is very angry about what happened to his cousin. And he did not like what Raquel had to say about, yeah, we'll get to the bottom of this. So that is another individual that's going to be a problem they're going to have to deal with. I don't know if Unique is going to try to approach them next. But yeah, anyone that Raquel has ever worked with is now a target. So I do want to see where they go with that. But yeah, to answer your question, I just think Unique strategy is to just continuously go on the offense against Raquel. And anyone that gets in his way, he's going to run right over them. That's what my guess is.
Yeah, yeah, good point. Good point. So we do have Dana Abercrombie here now. Dana, are you ready to talk? Are you there?
Yes. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we hear you loud and clear.
Okay.
How are you doing?
So what did I miss? I'm so sorry. I was literally it was Jesus. He was on the main line and I had to interview Jesus. And I'm not lying. It's a TV show called The Chosen and he literally plays Jesus. So Jesus was actually on the main line. So I apologize for my
Wow.
tardiness. Judas was there too. So you know the devil was also at work.
Oh no. So Judas and Jesus. Oh wow.
Amen.
Uh,
Amen.
amen. Amen. So yeah, you literally just interviewed Jesus. Wow, that's major. But okay, so we actually just got done with our takeaways not too long ago. What we were just talking about was what are Unique's motives with breaking into Kanan's apartment. But what I want to do is If you could hit us with your takeaways, because we do want to hear your perspective on, the episode and the things that you specifically picked out from this episode. So if you could run us through your takeaways, and then at the end, I'll ask you the question again so you can answer it. So is that okay? Whoa. Okay, she's gone. She's gone. System overload.
Probably got disconnected. She'll be back.
Yeah, she'll be back. But yeah, good points on Unique. And yeah, like you said, Kanan will be obviously operating from that apartment still. Like he'll be working there. Yeah, because that's where all his clientele is, and that's where that's his office basically. That's the office right there. So he's going to be going back there to and from. Okay, here Dana is.
Sorry
There you are.
about
Now
that.
we
See,
see.
the devil was still at play. He said, "I'm not done with you yet. How dare you talk about me?" Okay, what was the question? Because I missed the question part.
So I was gonna say, do you want to run us through your takeaways, and then I'll ask you the question again, because we do want to like hear about the things that you specifically picked from the episode to talk about, to discuss, like the things that you noticed about the episode. So if you could to run us through your takeaways of the
Yes,
episode, and
absolutely.
then I'll ask you the question about Unique again.
Okay, we on episode 3, right? Okay, episode 3. Side note, I just want to shout out to the production, the set department people, because they was drinking Fanta, and the design of the Fanta was the actual soda from the 90s. So shout out to because I was like, wait, I know that looks familiar. And then I Googled. So y'all had that right. So shout out to y'all. Y'all are amazing. So yay for that. But one of the big things that I loved, obviously, is the fact of Unique. We don't know exactly what is going through Unique's head in terms of what he thinks he knows and what is actuality. And so right now he thinks that Raquel and Kanan are working against him. And therefore his goal is to basically destroy every and anything that they may own, have business in, associates. Hence we saw the Koalition of Andre, who was the lawyer, and we got a little kind of update with that. Well, she's still trying to reach Andre, and I'm just sitting here and I'm wondering, we don't know the days in between. I'm just hoping that, one day we do find the body, because it's going to start to smell and everything. So I wonder when that is going to happen. Are the neighbors just not going to call? Because, sometimes when you have black neighbors, we just mind our business. So I'm just wondering how long Andre is going to sit and rot and roast in there. But another thing is we saw the death of the Chinese food workers. I didn't forgot their names, but we saw their deaths, which was really sad. But that's the kind of business that you're into. And that was one of the things that I really wanted to kind of mention here is the fact how I love, at the beginning of every episode, there's this huge kind of monologue that he gets into. And it says, basically, a lot of the people in the game thinking they can get in the game and get out. But that's not how it works. Ain't no half steps. When you're in, you're all the way in. And when you're out, you're going to be all the way out too. So that just kind of shows you even the small kind of casualties, the people in between who are affected by this. And that's why we had the lovely couple who was murdered by Unique. But right now we're really dealing with Unique's paranoia, which is really interesting. Tyler Early was very interesting in terms of, and I spoke to the actor Chris Redd about this. We have a whole bunch of interviews, like 8 interviews we have to get to post. But I spoke to the actors about this, and I was wondering, does he kind of fear what is going on with Unique? Because Unique is at the point where he's very unpredictable at the moment. We don't know whether or not, hey, Early can get it, the next door neighbor could get it. We already know Raquel and Kanan are potentially could get it, but that was the main people. But he told me that even though he is fearful of him, he does feel that he at this moment he could be okay. he doesn't really blame himself. And when I mean Early doesn't blame himself for putting in the idea, Unique, worry about this. You're operating too quickly, and instead use this as like a stealth tactic in terms of sit in the cut, see what's going on, take out people in the shadows. That way they don't see you coming. Because remember, Unique's very first get go was like, wait, I gotta tell him I'm back, I'm here, I'm there. And now that he's in the shadow, it's going to cause a lot more chaos and confusion. And I spoke to Joey, which we have the interview already uploaded. I spoke to Joey about this, and I was like, look, did you get, knocked upside the head, and now all of a sudden you this perspective of you have to kill Kanan and Raquel? And he said, no, the goal and the plan was always that way. It's just now, because of the injury, he isn't hesitant. So he's always wanted to kill Raquel and Kanan, because they're like this: you kill one, you kill the other. They're like, you got to kill the partners. You got to take the people out. You can't have one little survivor, because we all saw Kill Bill and how that happens. And we're still waiting for the third movie, but whatever. But we all saw Kill Bill. You can't have any witnesses or people, coming back to avenge you. So this is something that he's always wanted to do. And now with this thought process hindered, we're finally getting some action. So this is good. He's not, you can say, oh, he's acting illogical. Not really, since we spent 3 seasons of him being logical about it. He's finally putting into motion. So yay us and yay him. So that was one of the big main things that I wanted to mention. And also what is really interesting with this is at the end, it says, if you're lucky, you get to grow old, do something with your life, maybe even have a family of your own. But even if you end up being somebody's parent, you never stop being somebody's child. That's how you come into this world, and that's how you're going to leave it. So for me, that really meant the sense of family. And that is what we got with this episode. So no matter what it is that you do in your life, you're always going to be someone's child. Someone is either going to worry about you. You're going to have to deal with their baggage as well as the street's baggage. And this is when we come into Mama Joyce. Mama Joyce got the cancer, which we already know she had the cancer, but it's now her confronting, not even confronting, but her allowing her children to understand what's going on in her life. And Raquel and the other kids have a very fractured relationship with their mother. Raquel even more so, because she took the brunt of it. There's that whole things of, mothers are harshest to their daughters and kinder to their sons. And so that is kind of what's at play with Raquel, and why there is such a hesitance there. And, her being upset about not knowing, but also her still not reckoning. What's the word I'm looking for? Her not coming to grips in terms of reconciliating what happened to her regarding her mother. So there's a lot of things that is coming at play. And I interviewed the actress Sharon, who plays Mama Joyce, about this. And it's really at the moment where it's going to be ego versus ego, in terms of Raquel is such a really strong character. She doesn't like to appear weak to anybody. And that's the same thing with her mother. So we're going to see kind of the hitting of the heads. And we've seen that at the table where Kanan knew. Because remember, Kanan doesn't have those kind of, uh, I don't want to say transgressions, but he doesn't have those kind of traumas that Raquel may have. Because, the grandbabies are not the children. He wasn't raised by grandma. He's always praised and loved, and, always says, oh, that's okay, baby. Just tell me your day. I don't care about anything. I don't know what I did with this accent thing. That was weird, slightly Jamaican. But the point is, he doesn't have that kind of attachment that Raquel would have in terms of the trauma. So it's okay. But this is what we kind of can see, kind of a lot of the bed. What, I am losing words. The head butting. Sorry. And understanding of what does death actually going to do with Raquel. Because I can hate you for all these years, but then it turns into different when it's like, now you're dead. where does that hatred go to? So that is one of my takeaways regarding this kind of episode that we did see. So those are my two. The whole thing with Unique is he's coming for everyone. Now, also in terms of B Rilla, I have to praise Lulu at the moment because it's very easy to slip up into your old ways. And the fact that he put boundaries between him and B Rilla, no, you have to leave. My house is a mess. You nasty. Did you wash today? So it was very easy for him to be like, oh, I got you. I'm here for you. Because if you look at it, he's always kind of been there for everyone else. And so now he's taking care of himself. He's taking care of his place and he's taking care of his music in terms of you are a grown man. Find your own place. We're going to get you some money and stop with the excuses. And I really like that because he is to me, very self-assured in terms of him wanting to stay sober this time around. Him not wanting to fall back into those old ways and not even just doing drugs, the old mental ways. Because remember, he was suicidal. That's mental as well. There's a lot of mental anguish that you have to go through. So I am very happy and very proud of him for doing that. And I look forward to what is going to come from those two because we still have some good music that can happen between those two. And it's not just, Saturday night at the Apollo before the Apollo Theater existed. I'm not sure when the Apollo Theater existed. I'm pretty sure it was before that little jukebox bar thingy. But whatever, I'm simply saying is I take some steps forward, and I really like that relationship that's going on. And just kind of like a side note thing, really quickly. Yay for Jukebox for going to school, but baby, I feel like we are going to go back into that drug game. We already saw that she said no to her friends, and that was nice, and that was cute, and that was wonderful. But you know what? And I interviewed London Brown, who played Marvin, and I said, Marvin, I love you, but I don't trust you right now. He's going to be the one that gets her into the drug thing. And she's not going to say no to her daddy. I feel like he is going to need some help. Lulu is out of the picture. Raquel is busy dealing with her own business. People shooting and dropping dead and don't know that Unique is alive. Her mama gonna drop dead soon because baby, that cancer works very, very quickly. I done lost a grandpapa to that. So my whole thing is that he is probably going to look at Jukebox, and I think it's gonna be wrong and it's gonna be selfish. But you know what? That's family sometimes. Wrong and selfish. I look forward to the future episodes. So I think I'm done.
Okay, yeah, excellent takeaways there. I do agree. I think Marvin is gonna kind of get a jukebox mixed into the life at some point. I think that's coming. And just the way that jukebox kind of, she threw out her butter jersey and she's closed the door on the military and everything. It seems like she's kind of very grounded in the reality of her situation right now. And I feel like the everything that's happening with the streets and the drugs and Unique and everything, I think that's going to really kind of take over her focus later on, and she's going to have to get involved, which is sad. But that's the sad part of this drug game. It affects entire families. So I think that's where it's heading. But yeah, great observations as always. So oh, go ahead.
One thing. One more
Yeah.
thing that I did forget was that little snippet with Unique and Crystal. And she
Mhm.
didn't know who he
Oh yeah.
was, and he didn't know who she was. And then he kidnapped that person. I thought that person was a little person. I thought it was something out of Snow White. I didn't know that it was a kid. I thought it was a grown man that just happened to be tiny.
Yeah, OC.
So
Yeah,
that's gonna but that changes the entire perspective that nobody even thought of. What happens if Kanan is actually being held hostage by this guy, Unique?
yeah,
But then that really doesn't make any sense because he has like a whole family behind him that's also crazy. So I'm like, I'm wondering. because, but then again, we did have that argument between Kanan and Raquel, and she was like, I can't trust my business partners. And you know what, them little teenagers, they start feeling themselves and they want to grow and they think they know everything. And we already seen how he slipped up with pops and snaps. So I was wondering if he makes a deal to work with Unique to get the money to pay off the rest of pops and snaps. But I don't, it's nefarious. I don't like it, but I'm here for it. But I think they may end up having a good dealership with each other. But I don't know what's really going on. But I think he's gonna keep the secret that Unique is after Raquel, and I don't even know whether or not. I don't know. It's going to be very complicated. But I look forward to that little interaction. I got really excited. And then when I realized who that person was, and that person wasn't actually a little person that he kidnapped, that it was the little teenage boy that's always in that house. And then that apartment was actually Kanan's apartment. And you see how can I just say real quickly, shout out to Crystal, because God bless you men. Y'all are dumb. You see how Crystal was like, you got to separate where you work with where you live, and there's too many people coming in the thing. And if it wasn't for Crystal, Dum Dum would have been in the apartment, and Unique would have been there, and just shot up the whole place. So shout out to Crystal. This is why you need women. This is how Unique. See, this is how Unique and Kanan is going to start working with each other, because I feel that it's going to be Marvin. Like I said, men are dumb. You're going to drag that child into the drug business, and it's going to be Marvin that ends up getting Jukebox into the business, and she ends up working with Kanan, saves his life, because between her and Crystal, that boy, he dumb. But bless him, he a little dumb though. I do feel that that is how he is going to get the upper hand on Raquel. But at the end of the day, he's not at the point where I want to kill you. I honestly don't think that Raquel is going to be killed by Kanan anymore. I think we're going to let that just go and go with God. I think that if she does die, it's going to be by someone else's hand, or she just may end up in jail. Because remember, the feds are still sniffing. They still around. So I'm wondering what's going to happen. And maybe that reconciliation thing, not saying it's going to happen in this season. We got maybe another season or another season. What happens if she is the one who ends up taking the blame for everything? And that is her way of finding peace within herself. And then Kanan and everybody else continues. I'm done. I'm sorry. I rant.
Oh no, no, that's excellent, because you were kind of answering the question anyway that I was asking. So the first question that before you got here, we was asking the first question, and the first question was that so now that Kanan moved out, and then we see that Unique used the kid OC to get in, to break into Kanan's previous apartment where he's doing his work. The question was, what do you think Unique's motives are? So just to reiterate, so do you think that it's going to be a situation where Unique and Kanan might actually start working together and keep it from Raquel, a little bit like what happened with Ronnie? Do you think it's going to be something like that?
I think that it could be that situation, because the way how he came in, it wasn't like, hey, where's Kanan? Let's be friends. Thank you for killing Ronnie, because it could have been that. Because remember, he saw everything go down, but he saw it from his own perspective. See, that's another thing that I'm forgetting. He saw it from his perspective, where he assumed they killed Ronnie in order to get back at Unique, right? Instead of the fact that Ronnie was crazy. We already knew that Ronnie was crazy, but also at the same time, I think that we all know that he is happy that he is dead, because he tried to kill him. So I do see there be maybe it's a little bit mixed emotions with that. But if you think that someone is after you, he's going to kill you, I see that he is going to use Kanan either as like maybe a threat, and then maybe they become business partners. You see, I think that he's not Breeze anymore, and I'm kind of upset about that, because I spent all my seasons thinking he's Breeze. I don't think he's Breeze, and I think that Breeze, if he ever does come around, um, he might be the one that takes out Unique. Oh, wow. Now I'm sad. But it could be Breeze that takes out Unique. Now, I'm not saying we having a Breeze this season. I'm Sasha Penn won't tell me nothing. Makai Curtis won't tell me a single thing. So I'm just literally just freeballing the whole situation. But I do feel that, see, and this is why I wish we never saw that photo, because that photo was still ingrained in my mind. And I'm wondering if we're working as a team. So it could be, see, it could go either way. I feel that at this moment, there is a lot of hostility. And Unique has lost the ability to be manipulative, because right now he's just a guns blazing type of person. So logically, it would be, let me manipulate you into this situation and then I can take you all down. But because of the brain injury, he's going to be, that brawling, kind of person that's going to, as we saw him bum rush, what was it, CC CeeLo? Whatever his little the boy name was that I thought was a little person, but he's not, he's just a kid. So that's the thing. I feel that he is going to kind of, I don't want to say hold him hostage, but it's more like a hold him hostage situation where, Jukebox and other people have to be involved. So I forgot what the initial question was because I rant a lot.
No, yeah, you answered it, but I do like that prediction of maybe Breeze takes out Unique. Like that's a great prediction right there. That's something that could happen because
Right.
um
Wouldn't you
yeah,
be instant friends? And that he was his mentor. So if he comes in that way, I'm going to be instantly friends with you because Unique is crazy right now. And I don't think he wants to involve his mother because it's like I'm a man kind of situation. And you already seen the friction between the two. That's all I can say.
yeah, Richard, looks like you wanted to say something as well.
Oh no, I think that's a great theory. I look forward to seeing that question get answered. I think everyone has been asking about the Breeze character, and clearly Sasha Penn does know some stuff, some information about that. So I wouldn't rule it out. But yes, if he takes out Unique, I don't have a problem with that. You know, but I will make this comment again. I do want to. A lot of the Unique fans, I can't wait to get their feedback on Unique after this season. After you see all of the chaos that he has been causing, whether or not you still like the character, especially if he takes out a character that you like. So stay tuned.
Or maybe Breeze could just be the running gag of the entire series. You know how certain shows just have running gags and we never see Breeze? Like Breeze just never
Yeah.
comes, but it's just the joke that people are the inside joke. Maybe that's Breeze. Somebody doesn't tell you their name at first. Oh, that's Breeze. So it's just the show's running gag.
That makes sense. This is why they were laughing in your interview clip. Yeah.
Maybe Breeze doesn't really exist. Like maybe Ghost and Tommy and Kanan were just talking about cold air this whole time. Like literal Breeze. Like, oh, you remember how cold it was back in '94? That cold breeze.
See, this is true. A weather can be very motivating factor.
Yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I do want to see what the people think about Unique in this season. Is he still the cool, likable Unique? Do you guys still like this version of Unique? Because I know he was a very popular character, and shouts to Joey Badass. He does a great job, obviously portraying Unique. So yeah, do you guys think the character is still a very likable character, or has your stance changed on Unique? Because of course he's definitely a different Unique, and rightfully so, because he is damaged. He has that injury, he has CT and all that stuff. So what's your stance on Unique? I want to know from the people. But yeah, so next question I wanted to ask you guys, because we got that dinner scene. We did get a dinner scene, and they built up to it. They let us know it was coming. We saw grandma doing her good cooking and everything. um and yeah, we saw some nice cornbread that I wanted to eat on the table as well. But So now that everyone knows about Grandma Joyce's cancer, I want to ask you guys, will this be something that brings the family together or will it tear them apart? Because, sometimes when there's like death and grievance in families, it actually tears the family apart. Like I've had, I've witnessed many situations where a death in the family kind of, it causes everyone to turn on each other, whether it's over the money, the assets, or whatever. Like people just kind of, it really hits families, it hits them hard. So do you think that this whole grandma thing, is because I feel like what this episode showed us is that they're kind of in a good place. I mean, not so much Kanan and Raquel, but it seems like the siblings are kind of in a good place because Raquel was out supporting Lou with his speech and his his group, the alcohol group and everything. And well, Marvin actually lied to Raquel, which it wasn't good. But they're kind of cordial. They're working together towards a common goal and everything. So it seems like things are slightly stable at the moment, but this whole grandma ordeal could really it could cause some friction. So what do you guys think? Do you think that this is going to bring them closer or tear them apart? So I'm going to go to you first, Dana. What's your thoughts?
Okay, see, I'm trying to not say anything without saying something. I do believe that see, when I interviewed the actress who played Mama Joyce, she said things will take a surprising turn. Now, I don't know if that means when Mama Joyce gets shot in the head or everybody comes into reconciliation or, they just can't stand and they never see her again. But I do feel that in order for people to grow, Raquel may be one of those people who say that I can forgive you for what you did because it'll bring me peace. I can see her doing it for herself as opposed to her doing it for her mother. Now, when it came to the other children, everyone, seemed very shocked and hurt by this situation. Of course, Kanan is hurt by this because one, he knew everything first. There is a sense of, I feel him being relieved that this isn't a burden that he has to carry by himself. And I genuinely felt that it wasn't fair to say, hey, I have cancer. I'm literally dying. Don't tell your mama, which would be my daughter. You're putting that on a child. First of all, he's a child. People tend to forget at the end of the day, Kanan is still a child who is behaving like an adult. But he is a child. His thought process is that of a child. So I feel that one, is going to be maybe the conduit for Raquel finding forgiveness where it's I understand everything that you've done. I may not understand why you did this, but in order for me to have peace, I'm going to forgive you. And therefore, Joyce could have forgiveness within herself. I don't understand that because I'm one of those people that's like, I'm not going to forgive you and I'll take that to my grave. I'm one of those people that's just like, no. But for the sake of this show, that's how I see it working. And I do see that this could bring the family together again. I'm wondering what's going to happen because she's, death, we don't know when that'll come. She may live, 1 month, a couple days, or maybe it's a year. But for the sake of this show, I do see her dying probably by the end of this season. So I'm just wondering how everyone else will or won't come together. And as you've seen it, separate families. But I don't think that she has any money, so wheels and things are not going to be in it. And whatever she does have, I do see her giving it to Kanan. I don't see her giving that to the rest of the children. So I think it's just more of coming to peace with what she did to Raquel, or maybe what she didn't do to Raquel. Because remember, also what we're forgetting is Raquel had an abortion. We don't know, and this is not her first, abortion. She had previous abortions, and we knew that she had it when she was at a young age. Where did that come from? We know that maybe, she was dating Detective Howard when she was probably around 16, and that was probably her first love. What happened also in between those time periods? Why did her mother allow her to do this and this? Now you can say, "Oh, you can't control a child." Yes, yes, you can. You can figure out a way to control a teenager. Just say that you may be too lazy to, and you may be one making excuses, but you can figure out something. So I do feel that that is a lot where the anger comes from. Who was touching that child? Was it? We don't know what happened with her. Do we know what happened? Well, we know the father was in jail, but we don't know about the other menses that was in her life. So that's what I'm more concerned with coming with the mother. And so the fact that they brought up the abortion in, I think it was the first episode, or maybe the second, but the fact that they brought it up,
The
I think that
first,
they're going to be something, the first one, I believe that this is something that they're going to revisit again. So that's where a lot of that anger may stem from.
yeah, I agree with that. Because one of the things I thought about is like the dialogue that 50 Cent gives. One of the things he says is like, I think you quoted it earlier actually, where he was like, everybody's someone's child, like we're all someone's child basically. And I think that's why this whole um, Joyce having cancer thing hit Raquel so hard, because well, it's one of the things. It's not the only thing, but like it's because like she obviously Raquel is her child, and they have this bond. They've had this history. They have there's a lot of trauma involved there as well. But it's like it also hits home with the fact that she's had these abortions, and there was a child that didn't get the chance to really be a child. So I think her carrying all of these emotions is what really hit her. And like you said earlier, we're not used to seeing Raquel weak. That's why when we saw the trailer and she's crying, we're instantly like, what could have happened to make her cry? Like, because you always see her in a strong position. She's always strong, even though she's carrying a lot of emotional weight. So that's what I really want to see this season. I want to see how this affects her, and if she's able to keep up that strong appearance that she has, that strong demeanor and everything. But yeah, great points on that. With the family dynamics, I do think that this death is gonna hit them very hard, because even though there is clearly a lot of history, there's a lot of like bickering. I think there's a lot of reasons of why they're not so close with the mother and everything. I think they've had a lot of arguments over the years. Even though all of that is true, it seems like grandma was kind of that glue still, just a little bit, because she was able to summon them all and bring them to the table and cook for them. So, a lot of people look at their grandparents that way, as the only reason we all get together is because of the grandparents, because they're that glue that kind of brings everyone together. Because these days, like, families are so separated. We get caught up doing our own thing, living our own lives. We never actually, kind of assemble like the Avengers and just all meet up, unless it's a wedding or funeral, basically. But grandma has that power to bring everyone together and see, a common vision, and, you know, network with each other and all that stuff. She has that power. So when you take that away, now we're just left with what everybody wants out of the situation, and stuff, and what everybody's going through, and just the inner turmoil that they're all kind of experiencing. That's all that's left. So that glue is kind of gone. And it's up to them to kind of bring it back together as a family and say, okay, look, let's put these things aside. We need to work together or whatever. So these are the dynamics that I think are going to be explored in this season. I don't know how soon Joyce will pass away. If I mean, I'm assuming she will. We don't know for a fact, but I'm assuming that she'll pass away this season. and I don't know how soon that will happen, but I do think that once it does, it's definitely going to put it's going to be a big blow to everyone, and Raquel is going to feel it the hardest because now, I mean, spiritually, I feel like she's already head of the table for the family. I feel like spiritually, Raquel is already at the head of the table, but if grandma goes, she's going to physically be that now. She has to. She's going to be the strong one to because she's the most calculated. I feel like she's the most you know she's the most sure of herself. She's the most like she's the visionary of the family. She knows what needs to be done and everything. So I feel like if grandma goes, she has to be now the head of the table for the family, and that is a lot of weight to bear, especially when she has her own goals and her own challenges as well. So I want to see how that dynamic goes as well. So Richard is back now. So Richard, same question to you, which is basically, now that grandma has cancer, we assume that she's probably going to pass away in this season. So will this bring the family together or will it tear them apart? So what's your thoughts on that?
Sorry about that. There was a connection issue. Had to reset the internet, I guess. Um, to answer the question, well, first and foremost, a phenomenal question you asked, Gary. I've actually seen this happen in families, both people coming together and breaking further apart. So I am curious to see where they're going with this. One thing I will say is I feel like Raquel will possibly be the last one to finally accept the reality that her mom is dying, and that is the when you made mention of her crying in the trailer, I think that is related to that. um Dana made a very good comment of about the early abortion, and the thing about it is that, yeah, we need to get more context as to what happened. My only thought is that maybe there is something that happened with the father. I've known multiple. I've heard of so many things about people getting molested at young ages, and I don't know if that happened to Raquel, but there's something more in the interaction between those two characters. Clearly, there was something that happened between Raquel and Joyce, which is why they have the relationship that they have right now. So I think we definitely need more context as to what is going on with that situation. But to answer your question, I my personal thought is that I think it's very interesting how Joyce was giving these little monologues of advice to certain characters, like with Lou, because he didn't want to be tempted to go back and start drinking again, and she was basically saying for him to just continue to have faith. He can go somewhere where he's tempted, but as long as he has faith, he will get through. And then she's also giving jukebox advice. And those were the two characters that she was talking to specifically before Marvin interrupted her and said, "Hey, jukebox just got back. Just let her get situated." So I would be curious to know how this impacts those two characters that she gave advice to, because like you both have already mentioned, Lou has made a lot of progress this season. You can see the character has matured, acknowledging stuff that he's gone through in the past, and clearly he's on a very good path. With Jukebox, she's back with the family now, trying to figure out her next move. So I'm very curious to see with those two characters how this impacts them. As for Marvin, I do think Marvin is going to deal with this also, but we have to see what happens. Marvin has a lot of things going on this season. You talk about what happened with him not telling Raquel, and I'm glad that you mentioned that in your takeaways earlier, Gary, because yeah, that is something that I definitely think needed to be mentioned, because you saw Marvin, he was very nervous around Raquel, and you could see when he was leaving the room like it was a sigh of relief that he was able to get out of the conversation. But that is going to be an ongoing issue for the rest of the season between those two characters. So I do want to see where they go with that. But to answer the question, um, I don't really know if it's going to bring them together or further apart. I do think Jukebox and Marvin are going to really start to want to pursue what they want out of life based upon the advice that she gave them both. But I don't know what's going to happen with everybody else. And I think that's the beauty of the writing in the show, because it can go in any direction. But I will say I have seen in personal experiences how death can tear a family apart and bring people together at the same time, depending on the circumstances. So they definitely can go in either direction. Guess we'll have to wait and see. Go ahead, Dana.
Okay, so I found something in my notey notes. I got my notebook and things. It says this. So remember when Kanan and Mama, the grandmama was having a conversation, and it was talking about, you have to tell the family, and he says, it was his idea. It wasn't the mama's idea. It was his idea to bring the family together to see the family. He says, and then she responds, if the family wanted to see me, they would have. And Kanan's response was, it's about being real for each other, to each other. And then she responds about, well, then maybe Raquel and Kanan's relationship would have been better. I'm starting to think of this. Maybe with her death or her dying, this is how Raquel and Kanan become close again. Because you see the fractured relationship between Raquel and Joyce, right? And maybe her dying wish is, I want you to be a family again. Whatever it is you have going on, stop it. And this could bring Kanan and Raquel closer. Because remember, right before they entered into the house, they were still fighting. So maybe this is the one, this whole death, or even while she's alive, it forces them to be together. It forces them maybe to be in the same house to take care of grandma. Because remember, it was only Kanan who was picking up the medications, who was taking her to the appointments. Now that everyone knows what's going on with grandma, everyone now chips in. You're forced to sit in the car with each other. You're forced to come to the hospital together. You're forced to sit in grandma's house. So that could be the conduit to them getting closer again. And then not just that, the larger picture would be unique. You have two heads are better than one. Because right now, no one knows what's going on. Everyone's going in their own direction. No one's really talking to each other. You had Marvin almost shot that kid, but he didn't. And I was like, he should have shot the kid, but he didn't. And now he realized that his what was he? It was the what would it be? The aunt and uncle is dead, and now he might have to raise the niece on his own. And you see, he's a teenager. So you see all of this because if the family have came together, maybe someone could have been able to figure things out more. So maybe this is how the family comes together, and it's better for the much larger picture because you have Unique in the back dropping bodies. And then who's to say? That goes back to what I was saying earlier of maybe Kanan working separately with Unique is the one that drives them further apart. Maybe it's Kanan that ends up playing Unique. Oh yeah, I can't stand my mom. She sucks. But in the background, hey mom, guess what happened? Unique's alive. And that's how they're able to outwit and outsmart. I think that's the same word. Basically, outsmart Unique that way. And then he dies. This all leads to Unique dying.
Interesting. Yeah, I could actually see that because it was kind of similar with how the runny thing went, because it was like obviously Raquel and Kanan were at odds that entire season pretty much, and Kanan was working with Ronnie, but even he understood that family first, like family, we need to maintain the family, we need to work together. We're even though I might not like you, I might not want to be around you, I might not want to take my direction from you, we need to stick together and move as a unit. And that led to them killing Ronnie. So yeah, I could see that to where Kanan is kind of like that wild card between the two, between Raquel and Unique, that kind of ultimately leads to Unique's demise and everything. I could see that something like that playing out. Go ahead.
And not just him. Remember Snaps and Pops, or Mom and Pops, or whatever they call each other.
Oh yeah.
They're still going after them. Remember the whole thing at the finale for season 3 was, we're gonna go to war. Okay. But you need the whole family to go to war too. So yay.
Yeah, the whole snaps and pops, because he's still kind of tied to them. He still owes them. And I do think Raquel could be, she could be the person who gets Kanan out of that situation. We see that Raquel is setting up new situations at the moment. She's got a new dope dealer that she's pursuing and everything. So yeah, she's definitely looking for that power position to basically take over the streets. At the moment, she kind of has to play ball with Quan, who's kind of pressing her to find out, who killed my, cousin or whatever, my wife's cousin, find out who killed them and all that. So Quan is basically, he's in the power position, and Raquel wants that power. So once she gets that power, I do think, and with everything that's going on with the family, I do think that her and Kanan might be more aligned, but we'll see if it lasts in the long run. But I do think that this could bring them closer together in the meantime. But we'll see. So another question I had for you guys, because so something interesting did happen where Marvin actually went to early Tyler in this episode for information, because he wanted to find out if he knew anything about who hit the spot, the Chinese spot and everything. And then I believe he also asked him for information on what was it, the niece, I think, to find out where the niece is and stuff. Like, so yeah, and he put some money in his pocket also. So I wanted to ask you guys, do you think that this could become a conflict of interest? The fact that Marvin knows early Tyler, and he obviously has his own association with him, but early Tyler is also the person who nursed Unique back to health. Um, and in this episode, we see Unique pay him back and everything, the money that he owes him. So do you think that this could be a conflict of interest, and early Tyler might get caught in the middle of this beef? So Richard, I'm not sure if you're there, but I'll go to you first with this one if you are there. Okay, he might not be there. So
I am here.
Okay.
Yeah, my battery is a little low. I was trying to fix that. To answer your question, yes, that is a significant conflict of interest. I thought it was very interesting how we learned that in this episode with Marvin talking to the same guy to try to get intel. And he did not tell Marvin anything when Marvin said, have you heard anything? Obviously, that was the first time he heard about what happened at the Chinese spot, but he knows obviously that Unique is behind that. So that's going to definitely be something to watch later. I think Dana would know for sure, because Dana did say she didn't interview Chris Redd, so I'll be curious to hear what she has to say. But to answer your question, Gary, yeah, that's going to be a conflict moving forward. I'm not quite sure what Marvin's fate will be at the end of this season, but that is another alternative that it could be tied to this as well, if it isn't already tied to what's going on with Stefano. And by the way, let me just make this comment. They did mention Stefano in this episode. Raquel did when she was talking to Marvin, that she said that she heard he was working with him. But Mr. Tony Danza was not in this episode. I want to know what is the backlash for what happened in the previous episode when Marvin killed the guy. So I think that needs to be answered in the next episode, because that guy, he earned a lot of money. I'm pretty sure, Stefano's going to want some type of reimbursement from that. So let's see what happens.
I just want to say that I have the answer to that question, but y'all gonna have to watch the interview with London Brown. I asked that question.
Okay.
Oh yeah, go watch that. And London Brown is such a cool guy. Like from your interview, obviously, he's a very cool guy. And then I also watched the Sway interview he did. He did one with it was him and Mackay Curtis. They did an interview together with Sway. So yeah, definitely check out Dana's interview. Check out all those interviews. But yeah, also that Sway interview was entertaining as well. But yeah, go. So Dana, what's your thoughts on that question? Like, do you think early Tyler is gonna get caught in the middle of this beef between Unique and Marvin and the Thomas family?
Y'all remember this show called The Wire, right? Y'all remember a character named Bubbles? Now, remember Bubbles was on the street.
Mm.
Bubbles knew everything about everyone. Now, granted, he was on drugs. But what if we had a sober Bubbles? Where Bubbles knows everything on the street. He knows everyone's business, but he minds his business and people pay him for information. And then he deciphers what to give people without giving them everything. I think that he's Bubbles. He is Bubbles for this season now. I don't know how long he's going to stay on this season, which, by the way, I interviewed Chris Red, and he wants to get more in drama parts, and he likes the fact that he's doing the drama with the show. But the point is this. I feel that he is Bubbles in terms of the guy that knows everybody's business still keeps his nose clean in terms of getting heavily involved in taking sides. I think he is a person who is about his money. So as long as you pay him, he gives you what he thinks that you should have for that moment. Because remember, he asked him certain questions, and I'm like, is he gonna say something about jukebox? Not jukebox, about a unique. Because remember, he asked about the shooting, and now he wasn't like, yeah, it was unique. Guess what? He's alive. He didn't give him that information. But now he knows that Marvin is looking for the shooter. So that he knows that, for example, that Unique is making noise. They don't know who it is, but he knows that it's Unique. And he knows that the streets are talking about someone. So therefore he knows, you know, it's getting noisy. So that he can give the information back to Unique and say, like, hey, it's getting noisy, maybe lay low for a second. Or he could be setting up Unique where it's like, it's fine, go out there. And that's how he sets him up. We don't know where his hand is at the moment. And I think that that's wonderful because I don't want to know everything about everyone. But the original question was, do you think it'll be complicated for him? I don't think so. I don't think he has ties to people. I don't think, while he felt guilty for the fact that he took the money that Unique went and killed those two people over, he still took the money. He knew it was blood money. He knew where it came from. He was hesitant, but at the end of the day, he still took the money, which shows what his true character and nature is. Because some people are like, I don't want to be involved, get away. He didn't do that. So I don't think there's going to be conflict unless conflict comes to him. Now, the whole town can end up finding out what happens and then they lynch him. But at this moment, I think that he is just someone who just knows everything about people and he goes on about his little life. And you pay him for whatever it is that you need. He's the handyman of the city. So that's my answer.
Yeah, I like that answer. I like that, that he's just this neutral guy who, he's got all the information, he knows what's what because we see that Marvin comes in asking him, what happened with this Chinese spot, do you know anything? And then, later on in the episode when Unique pays him back and he's like, "Oh, you got this from the Chinese spot, right?" And then he was like, "You're playing with fire." So like he doesn't let on to either side that he's in contact with the other or anything, but he keeps that information close, but then he also advises at the same time. So it's like, I'll let you know what I think you should know, just like you said. But yeah, go ahead.
And then also, when he kind of wielded and pushed himself over to that phone in terms of Unique, when he hobbled his way over into there, he didn't call Parnessa. He didn't call the
Right.
hospital. He called early because he knew that early is going to be someone who's reliable as long as you have the money. He's going to be reliable. He can nurse you back to health. He's going to take him to the veterinarian, give him a little rabies shot, make sure that he's okay. Because there's a certain trust there. Because he knows that he can keep his silence. He's not someone who's in the street where he's going to tell everybody the business about everything. He knows things, and people know that he knows things, but they also know to mind their business. So that's what I like about Early. And I think that there is that trust, that unspoken trust to Unique. Because Unique, remember, we was like, oh, he's going to get shot. He didn't shoot him. He stuck to his word and paid him. Now, he got it nefariously, the money, but he paid him. And remember, that's all he said. You just wanted your money. I gave you exactly what you asked for. Here's your money. So I think there's that mutual respect because he is someone that you can rely on. He didn't have to go and pick him up. And I asked him, is he operating out of loyalty or fear? And you're going to watch the interview and find out what that answer is.
Oh, yeah. Definitely watch all of Dana's interviews on Power. They'll be going up on the channel. So check those out after this if you can. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how it does play out because I do think he is that man in the middle, but I also think that will be challenged. And, I think somebody is going to challenge his neutralness at some point. And I want to see how he carries himself in that situation. If he'll still kind of, if he'll pick a side or if he'll still try to, sit on the fence a little bit and be his own man, I guess. Like, I want to see.
There's no reason for him to pick a side. There is literally no reason for him to pick a side. Did anybody cross him? Did anybody harm him? Is he technically involved in anything? All he knows is that Unique is alive. He doesn't know what Unique does throughout the day. So there's really nothing for him to be involved in. From what we understand, he doesn't have any family or children or wife or girlfriend. He has no one. Well, I'm going to kidnap, Elizabeth, and he's going to be like, no, not Elizabeth. We don't. There's nothing for him to be threatened with at all. So I don't think he has any kind of reason to have a decision to be made. He is literally Switzerland. He's just in the middle, watching the whole chaos go about, saying, hey, I'm happy it's not me. I'm going to just eat my sandwich and have my popcorn and watch the world fall.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, he has no reason to pick a side, of course, but yeah, we'll see what happens. But I do like his inclusion, the inclusion of his character. I think he's a very solid, addition to the show. So yeah, I have one more question before we get to final thoughts, and understand that this is a who shot JR type of question that I'm about to ask you guys. Like,
you are aging yourself, honey.
Say that
There's
again.
a whole generation that you are aging yourself. People are gonna be like, JR, who shot Junior? Who's Junior? Junior Mafia? That's even too old of a reference for them. There's a whole generation that doesn't know who Junior Mafia is. Oh my God.
Yeah,
that is sad. Oh my God.
I'm aging myself. I'm showing my age. I'm sorry. How would I dumb it down? I don't know what the new Who Shot JR is.
He said dumb it down. Oh, I was going to say something, but then it was going to get political. Never mind.
Who Shot Trump? Where is that the new one?
Who shot Trump?
That's
they're going to come after us.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I should be laughing, but yeah. So this is a major question I have to ask you guys. Like, this is a big question, right? So Jukebox and Kanan, they had lunch together, and this has been a big mystery, over the past few episodes, I should say. So they got to talking about Famous, right? And Kanan brought up the fact that he thinks Famous is a snitch, like he thinks he's probably snitching and stuff. And Jukebox, she was looking at it more of like, maybe it's not that. Maybe, maybe he's in LA with his sister chasing women, doing regular Famous stuff, basically. So, I have to ask you guys, where is Famous? Is he snitching? What is he doing right now? Is he in LA? Like, because he's missing right now. He's completely missing. He's not part of the show. I don't know if he's coming back. Lulu heard his music and turned it off. And, you know, um, Lulu has kind of been alluding to the fact that Famous just needed some time away, and stuff like that. And, so he doesn't feel like he's snitching. Kanan feels like he's snitching. So, what you guys think? Where is Famous right now? So I'll go to you first, Dana.
I think everyone's correct all at once. I think Famous is snitching to the fishes because he's dead. And his little heaven of death right now is him being with his sister in LA. So you see, everyone's right. Dun-dun-dun. Yeah, for me, I kind of feel that Famous got. I feel like the people kind of get caught up with him, and he's dead right now. I wish that he wasn't dead. This is when we get another spinoff. Power does LA, and it now focuses on Hollywood and the singing over in California. And this is how we get the Tupac thing. And you see, it works that way. But I just kind of feel that Famous might be dead. Famous song is on the radio, and I feel that Famous is young, right? He's the same age as Kanan. And when your song is on the radio like it is, I feel that there's a little bit of ego where you want to be like, that's me. I don't think that Famous will be able to fight that urge to say that that's not me. So therefore, Famous is dead. That's the only way that I could just rationalize this, because he's blowing up right now, and you're gonna tell me a 17-year-old isn't gonna at least put out? I know they don't have social media back then, but a pigeon call and be like, "Yay! Celebrate me! It's me!" You got the music industry looking for this kid, and I'm supposed to believe he's actually in California doing music with his sister. Nobody's got in contact with him. Mm-mm. He did. His mama did too, just for being dumb. But his mama did too. So rest in peace to the mama. Who's to say where's the cousin? We haven't heard any noise from the cousin. Maybe the cousin did too. Maybe that's the only reason why they brought the cousin back, so we would have a reminder of who the cousin was, because the cousin did too. Maybe it was a drive-by in the car, and they just dumped their dead bodies in the Hudson River. So rest in peace, babies. They all did.
Mm. Yeah, by cousin, do you mean the sister? The
Sorry, I meant the sister, not the cousin. But if
yeah,
the cousin was in the car, they did too.
yeah. They definitely they brought her back. They brought back Jessica for a reason. So I do think we'll get an answer on what's going on with Famous in this season, because it makes sense if you bring in Jessica back. Obviously, she does have that history with Lou as well, so it makes sense to bring her back for that. But I think there's something going on there, um, with Famous. So I can't wait to see what it is, because I think it's going to be I think it's going to be some kind of swerve, possibly some kind of twist. But we did see Famous talking to the feds in the last season. He was conversing with them, so it could be snitching.
Remember, and I hate
Yeah,
to draw this back because there are so many more shows than just The Wire. But remember when they thought that that kid who always wears the do rag was talking to the feds because he was all really chummy in front of the police office, the police department, and then he got shot in the head. I can't remember his
Randy.
name, but yes, he always wore the do rags. I think it was orange at the time, orange or yellow. I'm colorblind. I don't know, but I think he always wear do rags, and he got shot because they thought that he was talking to the police.
Oh,
So
you mean
that's all I got.
Wallace? You mean Wallace, right?
Yes, yes,
Mike,
that's how he died.
Michael B. Jordan,
So the
right?
fact that no, it wasn't Michael B. Jordan. I would have remembered Michael B. Jordan because Michael B. Jordan was the kid. Did he die on the wire? I don't remember anything about Michael B. Jordan's character, to tell you the truth. It's been
Yeah,
so
he.
long. We should do a
Oh,
rewatch
I think
of
you
The
mean
Wire.
Bodie. Actually, I think you mean Bodie. Bodie with the
Bodie!
G. Yeah,
Bodie! Yes, it was Bodie.
yeah.
I'm gonna look up. It was Bodie. It was Bodie. Bodie got shot because they thought that he was talking to the police. At least from my understanding, baby, this has been like 20 years, and I remember things all over the place. For some strange reason, I don't know what I did yesterday, but I remember that they killed that boy because they thought that he was talking to the police because he was really friendly with the police officers, and they shot him in the head because I'm really sensitive to headshots. But they shot that boy in the head, and I think that's what happened with Famous. And he was actually talking to the feds, even though when we saw him, he wasn't saying anything. But I strongly believe he is dead. Him and his dumb mama did. Because remember, they
Wow,
turned in the gun, and this had to go all the way back with that other case. So they did. Rest in peace.
wow. So you think he died off screen already? You,
I think he died off screen, and one day we're gonna get because we got to remember we had what was it? Oh Lord, I don't want to say his name. It was the one that was Albie Shore's son. Remember he died? Well, we saw him die on screen, but the fact that he was floating in the water and he got his body was all bloated, I think that is going to be how we see Famous. That bloated body in the water next to his dumb mama.
yeah, yeah. Hopefully, Mama's not dead because she didn't do anything. She's an innocent person. I
She
hope she's
didn't
not
do
dead.
anything wrong, and she's very innocent, but she acts stupid. And I understand that she may not be aware of certain things. And it's wrong for me to call her stupid because she's not a part of that lifestyle. But the fact that she turned in the gun, I feel instead of talking to Famous first, she's baby, baby. She got. So yeah,
That's savage. So Richard, I know you're
that's
having a
life. We've seen whole families get taken down.
yeah. Grimy stuff like that does happen. Like when it comes to ratting and snitching, like the consequences, they don't just affect one person. Sometimes it comes back on the entire family. So it's a very savage. It's a very unfortunate thing. Um, but Richard, I know you're having troubles with the battery there, and I know you're out and about. But the final question we had was it was a $1 million question. This is a big question that we that we're asking here. Is Famous snitching, or is he really out in LA with his sister, like Jukebox said? Like, what do you think?
I just have one question, Gary. Do the streets need a body?
I think they do. I think it's about that time.
I don't think. I think Dana has mentioned before that she doesn't think that Famous is coming back on the show. I saw someone leave a comment last week asking us, "Has there been any stories about Famous leaving the show?" And I don't really know what's going on with Famous. I don't believe the character is gone for good because this is what this is supposed to be who Sean based Kanan off of, right? So I don't know if the character is gone for good. I do know that very interesting conversation between Lou and B Rilla in this episode when the song started playing. He turned that off immediately, and then the dude is like, "Yeah, he's out. He'll be back sometime." That's what he tells B Rilla. And honestly, like I said, I don't know what Sasha plans Sasha's plans are for the show. But it does feel to me like he wants the viewers to keep guessing as to what is going on with Famous, because it feels like it's a mystery that needs to be unveiled. Because multiple characters every other week, Famous is brought up, and they're like, "Oh, he's off somewhere," but did he snitch or didn't he snitch? I don't think the character. Well, obviously, I don't know. I don't know what happened with Famous. Now, one thing I did think was interesting is when Lou made the comment is that Famous maybe thought he said too much, and that was why he disappeared. I can understand that, right? But again, Don't really know what's going on with the character. I don't think that he's gone for good, though. I don't really think that they're going to go through all the work of bringing Jessica back into the storyline just so that the character, like, she only has one appearance the entire season. I don't know about that. So I do expect to see Famous again. I do expect to see Famous's mom again, because even Kanan mentioned in this episode that he contacted the mom and she didn't know where he was at either. So they're letting you know when they keep having these references, the character is still around. I just think that they haven't brought him back yet. And maybe I can say this, maybe I can't say this. There is an episode coming out later this season. I believe it is titled The Cost of Fame. So, very interesting title, right? So, that's all I could say. We'll have to wait and see. But I don't know any other details.
I like that. That wordplay. The cost of fame. Yeah, that's yeah. Yeah, I was saying I believe this is leading to some sort of like big twist or something. Like I think something is gonna be revealed about this later on in the season. So can't wait to see where they take it. Yeah,
Now,
and yeah, go ahead.
let me ask you a question, Gary. Since you said a big twist, what if one of the twists is that another character has already taken out Famous? You
Yeah,
see how?
that's what Dana was saying.
Yeah. Oh. See, so there you go. So Dana, you and I are on the same page, because obviously the characters that act like, oh yeah, he's gone. Maybe one of them characters could have already taken out Famous, but I don't know. I mean, I don't know. They want you to keep guessing.
No, I had the whole. It was Bodie, by the way. It was Bodie. It was Bodie because McNulty convinced him to be an informant. And he was like, "No, I don't want to." So they shot him in the back of the head. It was Monk. Monk saw him get into the car because, as you see by memory, I can't remember what I did today, but I can tell you what happened 20 years ago on The Wire. So they shot him because he got into McNulty's car, and it was Monk. It was like, "Oh, really?" And then, yep. He shot him in the head by Old Dog. Yep. I remember that because I'm like, no, they broke my heart. But you see, this is what happened to Famous. That's what I was saying. That was the whole reason why I went on that rant. That's what happened to Famous. Famous was seen going to the police precinct. While they may not have all the information, they knew that he went into that police precinct. There was already the rumor that he was talking to the police. Who's to say that he was an informant? You have the feds that are already on what is it, Marvin case, which is going to affect Raquel. And so I think that it was Famous. They done got him, and they got his dumb mama too. So they did. It's just weird. Everybody did.
Yeah, it could be the case. Like that could be what happened, because they definitely want us to question it. Like they want us wondering, because they're planting the seeds of doubt in our minds. Like on one hand, they're alluding to the fact he was snitching. On another hand, they're alluding to the fact that he just disappeared or went to LA. And then, they're also kind of alluding to the fact that he could be dead, because it's like, when the song came on and Lou turned it off, and then, B-Rilla's, first words were, "Is he gone? Is he gone?" Like, so, yeah, I mean, he could already be gone. He could be dead. So it's interesting. I want to see what. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
I think in a way, Lulu knows too, which is why he turned it off. Yes, you could say, "Oh, that was my artist, and we don't know where he's at, and it really touched me, and it really affected me." But that's supposed to be your. Everybody's like, "Where is he?" The big people are like, "Ooh, where is he?" So every time that record plays, you're gonna be like, "Ooh, that's good. That could be more money for me once we find him." But he turned it off, so I think he knows in his spirit that boy is dead, because he's dead along with his dumb mama.
Poor mama. But yeah, I want the people to chime in. So definitely let us know what you guys think about Famous. What do you think his current status is? Is he alive? Is he dead? Let us know. Man, what was that? There was something else I was going to bring up, but I completely forgot. But yeah, that is going to be it. We'll get to final. We'll get some final thoughts here quickly, and then we're out of here. Dana, you wanted to say something?
Okay, hi. I have a part that I completely forgot about that literally made me the happiest person that has ever happened. Jukebox is happy. And I think that this is the episode where we saw her smile from her rooter to her tutor. It came all the way down to her soul. Her soul was smiling. And that was the moment that she stepped into that gay bar. And she had them little gay friends. And they was all gay. And they was talking about their little gayness. And Jukebox was like, I'm gay. And when she told her little, what was it? Kanan that, and he was like, I don't care. And when he stole, when that daddy and that army people came down there, and it was like, we're gonna have you arrested, and we're gonna have you marshaled, and we're gonna get the courts. She was like, I'm gay, and his daddy was like, yep, she gay. That was a moment of such pride because we saw her struggle with that and her kind of keep it secret. And we saw that her daddy, remember that first season when her daddy discovered that she was gay and he tried to kill her? And now you have now when he's like, yep, she's gay. What you gonna do about that? And he was so happy that she was gay. I think he was gay too for that little moment. It's like, yay, let's throw a gay party. So I think that was such a great moment and that she has found her community of people, which then goes back to remember Adele Jukebox and how she had a little string of women. I don't know if she was really in love, but I would like to see her be in love with someone who is actually gay too, and they stay in their little gay relationship. And maybe they just naturally separate, but they have a long-term gay relationship and everybody's just happy. So I was so happy for her when she got in that bar, because remember, she was very hesitant at first, and she was like, I don't know what to do. And that little girl came up to her and was like, it's your first time. It's going to be all right. Let me show you inside. And she was like, ooh. And I could hear from Disney's Aladdin, a whole new world. And she was just so happy. And I was just so happy for her. And that music was playing, and then all the girls was talking to her. Oh my gosh, she looked like a little princess. I was just so happy. So yes, I just wanted to bring that up because that was just a really amazing time, and I think she deserves it. We are in season 4, so for her to step into her own self, for her to get her own power, she's not sad. Nobody had some crack where they're dying in the corner with some fentanyl, and nobody went and snitched. Nobody did anything wrong to her. They accepted her and they love her for her, and it could end up being just a happy, natural friendship with her and her little gay friends, and they can do little gay things together. It just made me so darn happy. And that scene when she had with the army, and they're like, and we're like, oh yeah, it's just going to be an honorable discharge. And she's like, I don't care because I know who I am. I was just so happy. And with her and her daddy, and they was just so happy together. They have really grown to a level of acceptance and understanding where he realized that, this may not be what I thought my daughter was going to be, but maybe I got something more. And he seems like I got something better than what I thought it was. And that was just such a really great, lovely time for her in the midst of the family being so darn chaotic that he gonna ruin it all once he asks her to go and be a part of the drug business. But at that moment, I'ma just that was a snapshot. So that was one of the big things that was really good. I love that fact. I also love the fact that what was the other part? Um, Nobody talked about Unique giving Pernessa the money. He's really not beholden to anything, which I think makes him even more dangerous because it's not like I'm going to kill for money. He took the money out of like I have to pay early. I'm going to break Pernessa and then the son off. So I really like the way that he's operating, and I think it could be a way also of saying, hey, if I die, I die. But at least these people are taken care of. So I think in a way he's come to grips with a possibility of his own death because he already died once. We saw it. He was beaten to death. So I really did love that fact, and I wonder if we're gonna see Pernessa again, or is this gonna be like, oh, I got some money, girl, and then she moves away, hopefully, and she's away from all of this situationship. So, it wasn't like he confronted her and he was angry, because we did see him be heartbroken once he got into that house and he saw that the eviction notice and it was that little toy there. I think it was a bear or something. And we saw him being heartbroken, but I think there's a level of acceptance. So the old Unique is still there. It's just rattled around with his little brain cells and things. But I did love that. So I think that is kind of like everything that I wanted to kind of speak about, because everything kind of worked pretty quickly in terms of, we knew about the shooting and the whole situation with Crystal. That'll be interesting, because she did say to Kanan, I saw a man and he was really scary. So him lurking, oh, I wonder if him lurking around that building, because we do know that he's in the apartment now. Crystal finds out what happens. She's scared, and this is how we end up with her breaking away from Kanan. So maybe that's how the relationship ends. Because she's like, who's this man? He's scary. Remember, I always said girls tend to be a little bit smarter. She's going to come to Kanan and be like, hey, these are my worries and my troubles. And he's going to probably dismiss her. And then she's going to be like, oh, I can't be around the situationship anymore. So that's another thing there. And then I do wonder, Jukebox being in community college, um, that maybe it brings a little bit of different opportunities, or maybe this ends up being a whole standstill situation where she does end up dealing with the drugs, and now it's a school thing in community college. I didn't know you could just randomly step into a community college and just like, I want to take classes. But you see, I don't have money, so I don't know how the real world operates like that. Maybe you could just walk into any school and be like, I want to take a class. Here's some money. And they'd be like, okay, thank you. We'll see you at 8 o'clock for Dr. I don't know, Ronstein's class. And that's just it. I'm poor, baby. I have to fill out FAFSA forms and hope I don't get a loan and call on Black Jesus and everything. So that's all I have to say.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up the whole Unique, giving the money to Panessa, because that does show that, even though he's a little rattled, he still has his heart. He still has a heart. He still remembers his family and the people that he cares about. He just can't reveal himself at this moment. But I wonder what the reaction will be when Panessa sees that money he left, because it's like, who did that come from? You know, she has to question that. So yeah, but good point.
Just really quickly, she didn't introduce herself when she got into that little gay club. She didn't introduce herself as Jukebox. She said, hi, my name is Laverne, because that is the acceptance of herself, and she feels that she is so comfortable in revealing who she really is. She didn't go by a little nickname. She didn't go by any other name. She went by her government name, which is like her way of saying, I'm so comfortable, I'm home. This is what my name is. My name is Laverne. I'm not wearing a mask. This is not, any other kind of name. So I really love the fact that she introduced herself as Laverne compared to, say, Jukebox or Pookie and Yim.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. One of the things I was saying earlier was I love seeing the growth of like all the characters so far. It's like we see their journey, like we see how it's changed them and affected them, and like they're more comfortable with who they are now. So like, when you were talking about Marvin and he's fully accepted, you know, uh Jukebox for who she is, and she's also fully accepted herself, and she's happy to be open about it and stuff. So all of that is great. I love seeing that growth in the characters. But yeah, Richard, did you have any final thoughts before we end off here?
Oh no. Final thoughts by. Sorry. Great thoughts by Dana. I agree with a lot of points that she made. Final thoughts. I thought this was a great episode. Looking forward to seeing what happens next week. Um, but overall, yeah, I think I think everybody made great points. Both you and Dana made great points. I like to see the characters growing. They've done an excellent job of developing the characters this season. So I look forward to seeing where everything leads to.
Just one more thing. I know that nobody cares about school anymore because remember Kanan was missing all them days when they sent the letter in the mail and she was about to kill him on the street corner, be like, you didn't go to school. My only thing is that the government got involved in terms of like, remember the social services? So I'm wondering if there's going to be a problem with that in the future because he is technically of age still. So what is that situationship going to be? Because you have the social services, unless she pays them off. But then I was like, why would you like wait to pay them off and not pay them off before? But we still have that lingerization in the court unless he emancipates himself. Can he emancipate himself and then get a GED? I mean, legally, if you want to really get rid of the social services people, I don't know. I think that's what white people do. But that should be a really interesting part. And then also at the very end with Raquel, remember when Grandma was like, "I have cancer, I'm dying. Oh my gosh, everybody come and hug me and love on me." And Raquel was like, "You spent our whole lives and knocking us around and down." Thinking a dinner would solve this. So I don't know what's going to happen with that relationship, but I thought it was really interesting knocking us around and down. It wasn't like oh, you made me feel uncomfortable. It was knocking us around and down. So there was abuse in that family, and Raquel being the oldest, she was the brunt of it. So I hope we do get some kind of flashback that let us know what exactly was going on in that situationship. And that's everything that I wanted to say.
Oh yeah. I do want to learn more about what was going on with that with the family. But oops, am I still here? Okay, yeah. I thought I closed the page, but yeah. So that is going to be it. Thanks for listening, everyone, and I'm looking forward to seeing what the comments are saying this week, and I will be in there replying to everyone. Shouts to Tracy, by the way, because she left a great comment. I just didn't get around to replying, but I did want to reply. Maybe I'll do that after this. But shouts to Tracy Lee, shouts to Rainy J also. But yeah, there was some great comments on that last episode. So big shouts to all the community and everyone. But yeah, that is going to be it. And thank you for listening, everyone. We'll be back next week. So take care of yourselves. Peace out.